cover a little bit about why you might need a specific GraphQL debugging solution. And so we're at the third version now, which is HTTP responses of GraphQL APIs are 200. And then they just bundle up errors in a JSON body. And then that's where you can pick out the errors from. So again, if you're using a specific solution to monitor your API, it's just going to say that everything is 200, and you're not going to be able to filter out on like any specific HTTP method response. And then finally, with GraphQL, you have a schema. So we think that it's really valuable deriving information from this schema. So you can have your requests coming into the server, match it up with the schema, and then these lines here represent analytics that you're deriving from the schema. And so with all this, we built a tool called GraphQL Debugger. And as I said, it's MIT open source and free to use. So just to get started, you have to run this one command in your terminal, and then it will sort of prompt you to get started elsewhere. So I have a terminal open here, and I'm going to run npx GraphQL Debugger. There you go. Is that better? Cool. And then if I go to localhost 16686, you'll be presented with GraphQL. Let me turn that to light mode. We just released light mode the other day, by the way, so this is a good case of that it actually works. But we'll go light mode. So this is GraphQL Debugger. We don't have anything connected to it. And you'll see on the left-hand side here that it's basically waiting for a schema to be posted to the debugger. And then furthermore, some queries to be received so we can start debugging our server. And so if I go back to the slides, I'll show you how to get started with GraphQL Debugger on your API. So we've got it running in the background, and now we need to actually trace our schema. So GraphQL Debugger is a TypeScript package. So it works with all of the GraphQL TypeScript tooling at the moment. So we are looking to branch out into languages like Go and Python and Ruby. At the moment, we're just going to be demonstrating with TypeScript. So who uses GraphQL and TypeScript? Okay, so in good hands. And any other languages? Like who's building what languages are you? C#, GraphQL APIs and C#. Okay, interesting. Anyone else? Okay, TypeScript and C#. Okay. So here we have a bog standard GraphQL API using GraphQL tools, GraphQL Yoga. So the schema, I'm just imagining that the type defs and resolvers came from someone else, excuse me. And then we create a Yoga server. And so we wanted to make it really easy to get started in your TypeScript stack. And so what you can do is you can import the GraphQL trace schema tools from GraphQL Debugger, and then just wrap your GraphQL schema with our method. And then basically what it do is it'll apply tracing to all of your schemas, and you can start debugging. And I can show you that in the code. So here I have an API that I built, and it's a very simple API. Let's close everything. And you'll see that I have a GraphQL file, and it has some type definitions, just some basic users, documents, signups, nothing special. And then it creates a Yoga instance and starts it in the background. But if I have a look at the diff here, you'll see, sorry, where is it? If you have a look at the diff here, you'll see, oh, I've already got it installed, even better. So basically you instantiate your trace schema, and then you just pass in the schema to it, then it's all good and ready to go. So I can actually start this API like that, and then go to what is GraphQL Playground. So if you're not familiar with GraphQL Playground, this is a tool that's provided in most GraphQL API solutions, just a developer tool basically that lets you query your API quite easily. And so what I'm going to do is make a query for some documents and issue that. Oh, happened. There we go. Cool. So I made a query called documents, and it gave me unexpected error. So that's not really what you want as a developer, get an unexpected error. And this is deliberate on GraphQL Yoga's side because they basically obfuscate all of the errors that happen inside your API. However, if I come back to GraphQL Debugger now, you'll see it has actually picked up a schema for me. And if I come into here and you'll see on the bottom right-hand side, there was a failed query that happened. And in fact, if I expand the errors of that, you'll be able to see that the table main document didn't exist. So this GraphQL API is using Prisma. And so I just didn't migrate my database correctly. So this is why this query failed. And so what I can do is migrate my database by running Prisma, npx Prisma db push. And then if I start the API again, come back and issue another query, you'll now see it returned nothing because there was nothing in the database, but it didn't fail. If I refresh this, now you should see that there was actually a successful query that happened and that there was no errors, and then it just returned an empty array. And so that's like the first introduction to GraphQL Debugger. So on the left-hand side, you have the schema analytics. And so it's picked up the schema from my code base, and then it's performed analytics on it. And you can see that we actually issued 2 queries to the documents query, and one of them failed. And then you can also derive like how much time it took, for example, last resolve, and so on and so forth. So this was like a quick introduction using just one simple query. But the true power of GraphQL Debugger comes into play when you start composing parts and our plugins together to see a more holistic overview of your GraphQL API. And so we have what's called plugins. And so you'll remember at the start of this talk, I said that one of the reasons why we might need a specific GraphQL debugging solution is that it's a HTTP push request with a query bundled on the inside. And so what we've done is we made a plugin that essentially puts the HTTP handler right at the top of your GraphQL debugger. So you can start to see, for example, the IP address, the headers, the port, and stuff like that as well. And so if I go to my app, you'll see that this is how you get started. So I've just removed it, but we'll discard these changes. And you basically import the GraphQL Debugger Express handler from our library, and then you just apply it to your Express server, and then it will start giving you some more spans in your debugger. I'll just discard that. So now our app has this and this, which is our plugin. And if I come back to the API and restart that, go to this thing's in the way. There we go. So now if I issue another query again, nothing happened because we haven't inserted any data. However, if I come back to debugger, refresh the page, you'll see that this query, now we're starting to compose some more stuff, because from GraphQL Playground, it was actually a post request that got sent to my server, and then we've done the GraphQL stuff underneath the hood. So I can expand this and I can see, for example, these are the particular attributes that happen. For example, the client socket address. These are all sort of standard stuff that are in the OAT spec that you should be capturing for a HTTP span. And so that sort of shows you, okay, this was a GraphQL HTTP post request to the /GraphQL endpoint, and we hit the documents query. But as I said, we're using Prisma under the hood. And so somewhere down the line, we're actually doing a database call. And so we took this composability a step further, and we enable you to hook into your database solution. So for example, Prisma supports OpenTelemetry. Hasura, was going to be talking about Hasura later, supports OpenTelemetry, and so do we. And so we thought it'd be really handy if, for a given GraphQL query, you could actually see highlighted there the database calls and the serialization and sanitization of database queries. And this would make debugger like a really handy solution, because you can see this database call, this GraphQL query triggered this database call. And so you can get started really easily. For example, with Prisma, you take your Prisma schema, and then you just say that you want to use tracing. So they have a preview feature called tracing. You just enable that, and then you basically just plug in the Prisma instrumentation to trace schema, and then you can start tracing with Prisma. And so I can show you that as well, which is, so we have the Prisma tracing. So I just removed this earlier, but I'll discard the changes. And also the Prisma schema. So we just need to say that, excuse me, all the pizza. We have to enable tracing in the schema as well. So I'll just discard that. Now we have tracing enabled. And because I'm using Prisma, I just need to regenerate my Prisma client. So I'll do that. Prisma generate. Start the server again. And if I come back to localhost 4000 and issue the same query again, nothing's happened because there's nothing in the database. However, if I come back to debugger and look at the latest query, now you'll start to see all of the stuff composed together. And this is all of the stuff that's happening given a particular GraphQL query. So we have the HTTP post request. We do the GraphQL stuff, which happens from GraphQL.js. And then we start to break into Prisma stuff. So for example, this method, this documents query called Prisma find many, document.find many, which kind of makes a lot of sense. And then if you drill down a little bit deeper somewhere, you should be able to see the given database query that was issued from that GraphQL query. And just to show you a little bit more as well, if you can make mutations and they'll also get picked up. So first of all, I need to sign up to this API. So just a dummy API and sign up, and it will give me a token. So I'll just take that token and I'll also make, for example, a legal document using that token. Okay, and then I'll also issue that again, just so, because we can't make two of the same document. So hopefully if we refresh debugger now and we come back into here, you'll see that we had the sign up, and looking at the variables, you can see that Dan signed up with the password of password. That was successful. You can see that there was a mutation for creating a legal document. And this done quite a lot of stuff. So you can see it actually done a write and a read. If you drill down into this, you can see that the first Prisma operation would have been a document create. And then we would have also done a document read to return that document as well. And then finally, as well, I'll show you the failed mutation. So this is us creating, when I click to create document twice, this is failing because there's a constraint in the database. But this actually depicts one of the reasons why we built this solution in the first place. And that's that it was a HTTP post GraphQL, and that returned 200. And so from an observability standpoint, this endpoint, the request was successful. It's not until you start drilling deeper into the GraphQL mechanics that you realize, actually, this wasn't successful. It returned an error. And this was the reason, where is it? This was the reason why it returned an error, is because there was a constraint validation error. And that is pretty much it from me. So that was GraphQL Debugger. I suggest you go to graphqldebugger.com, check out the GitHub. It's open source. It's on NPM. We'd appreciate your feedback as well. And thank you very much for your time. And if anybody has any questions, then please just go ahead.
Dinesh, great. This is great. Thanks for walking through it.
No problem.
I'm curious. So this plugin, from the examples you showed, it didn't look like it was plugging into the server or schema itself. It looked like it was wrapping over using Express middleware. How can I identify which queries relates to which database request goes?
So what we do is we take the schema hash and then pass that along with every operation that happens. And so we just pull in the schema, we pull in all the spans from the schema hash and then just sort it by time. Did that answer your question?
think it did, but also I think I just need to look at the code to.
Sure. You can also ask me some more questions about the code. I can get it up after this talk. Yeah.
It makes sense.
Thank you.
How close to write your own plugins for your own weird result of the situation?
So we expose a method, and you basically just give it a callback, and it will run the callback and then generate a span. So you can just sort of import that function, give it your function, and then yeah, just tell it whatever you want. Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
You walked into Prisma because it's emitting OpenTelemetry.
Correct. Yeah.
Spans.
Yeah.
So presumably it's easy enough to do the same with anything that doesn't.
Pretty much. Yeah. Anything that's OpenTelemetry, the root has to be triggered from GraphQL, and then anything under that, so anything inside your resolvers, if it's OpenTelemetry and emitting spans, we'll just pick it up. No, it just because it's a spec OpenTelemetry. So yeah.
Any other questions?
I think related to that question, we had one from online. Is the tracing mechanism only available on Prisma, or does it work from other ORMs like Type ORM, Mongoose, etc.?
So it depends if they support OpenTelemetry. So GraphQL Debugger does its best to be compliant with OpenTelemetry. So if Type ORM does support OpenTelemetry, then I'm sure that we will support it. I just haven't tried it yet. So that's sort of like an asterisk on that one. And I'd love whoever asked the question to try it out and let us know. Kevin.
Any other questions from online, mate?
No, that's it so far.
Okay. I'll end.
All right, brilliant. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.